All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video, a little recap of Wednesday down here in Santa Clara as the Niners lick their wounds from their Christmas night loss to the Ravens and get ready to travel to Maryland to take on the Washington Commanders and Jacoby Brissett. That's right. Won't be Sam Howell, it'll be Jacoby Brissett at quarterback for the Commanders. Howell's had a up and down rookie year, lots of sacks, lots of picks. And so they're going to go to Jacoby Brissett, who's played really good football for them recently. So let's talk a little bit about today. Had a chance to go in the Niner locker room, talk to Tabor Pepper, the long snapper. Got a chance to talk to Nick Bosa, T.Y. McGill, Sebastian Joseph-Day, Chase Young. Had a chance to talk a little bit to Drake Jackson about his SC boys playing in the bowl game tonight. And then, of course, we got a chance to talk to Kyle Shanahan. Let's go through it. Today's practice, by the way, because of so many injured players and late in the year, they just did a walkthrough. So, the 49ers had a bunch of guys out, and late in the year, Kyle's turning this first practice of the week into more of a walkthrough to try to keep the players' bodies fresh for the game on Sunday, which is something that he's done before. And this time of year you're trying to just have the players expend their energy on game day, and then you rest them up during the week as much as you can so you don't so they're fresh as possible come Sunday. So that was the approach. Today was just a walkthrough. They only allowed the media to watch the stretch portion of the practice. Usually they allow the media to watch the stretch portion and then the first period or two. Today it was just the stretch portion. Let's start with the injuries. Eric Armstead was not practicing today. Eric's got a foot injury and a knee injury, and I think the foot is the bigger problem. He's got plantar fasciitis in his foot, and they're just trying to get him ready. I think there's a very good chance that you're not going to see Armstead until the playoffs. So that was one, and that plantar fasciitis can be a very serious thing. I mean, Eric's regular walk-around weight's probably closer to 275, and he plays at about 290, 295. So he's carrying some extra weight, as many football linemen do. And you wonder how much that's contributed to the foot injury with the plantar fasciitis. So he didn't go today. Juwan Jennings wasn't out there either. He's still in the concussion protocol. Aaron Banks with the turf toe, he wasn't practicing. Jalen Moore didn't practice. He also has a concussion. Ji'Ayir Brown has a knee sprain, and that was kind of a new injury that we didn't know about. Kyle was asked as a follow-up question, hey, is there, how concerned are you with Ji'Ayir Brown that it's going to be a long-term thing, or that he may not be able to go against the Commanders, or you may have to go in a different direction at safety? And he said there's concern. There's concern there. So the Niners have other safeties. They have Logan Ryan. They have Taylor Hawkins on the practice squad. And you may, if Ji'Ayir Brown can't go, you may see a guy like Hawkins promoted to the active roster. That's something to watch for later in the week. As far as guys who were limited today at practice, Deebo Samuel's got a neck injury of some kind. He was limited today. Javon Hargrave, who still is battling that hamstring pull from a couple weeks ago, even though he played against the Ravens, he was limited in practice today. Oren Burks was limited in practice with a knee injury. Ambry Thomas was limited in practice. I believe Kyle said it was a knee and a hand. And then Trent Williams was limited with the groin. Now, on a positive note, the fact that Trent was only listed as limited is a good thing. How much to read into that, it's hard to say, because today was a walkthrough. So they're not really asking anybody to do anything. So the fact that he was limited today as opposed to out, it's really hard to say where Trent is with that groin pull and if he's going to be good to go on Sunday or not. That, to me, is the biggest question going into this game. Can Trent Williams play left tackle against the Commanders, his former team? So, as I said, he was listed as limited today, but it was just a walkthrough, so he was out there. But we'll find out more about his status in the next 24 to 48 hours. We did get a chance to talk to Sebastian Joseph-Day. Interesting guy. I asked Kyle, I said, man, do you feel fortunate that you could sign a player of this magnitude, of this caliber, going into week 17 of the regular season. He said, absolutely. Kyle feels very fortunate to get him. He cleared waivers because he signed a $20+ million deal with the Chargers, and nobody wanted to pick up that money. He also didn't want to discuss why things ended with the Chargers. There may have been some argument of some kind. We don't know, but ultimately, the Chargers are looking to save money on the cap. The Chargers are hugged up. The Chargers have maybe one of the worst cap situations of any team in pro football. The general manager was fired, the head coach was fired, and Sebastian Joseph-Day, who had been the team captain for the Chargers and was having a pretty good year, cleared waivers. Nobody picked up that money and came to the 49ers. And it's like, well, why'd you come to the Niners? Well, the Niners are one of the favorites to go to the Super Bowl, and he wants to win a Super Bowl. I asked him a little bit about adapting to this style. He definitely got reps today out on the field. We saw that with Chris Kosaric kind of putting him through the paces. I asked some of the other D linemen, Nick Bosa and T.Y. McGill, about the adjustment period and the transition. And T.Y. McGill seemed to think, and T.Y. is a good person to ask because he's been in a bunch of different schemes. And he said, just the fact that not that the Niners defensive scheme is simple, it's actually somewhat complicated for the defensive tackles. But he felt like that Sebastian Joseph-Day would be able to play right away and make a contribution right away. So that was an interesting perspective from T.Y. McGill. We had a chance to talk to Chase Young today, and he's prepping for his return to, the Washington, Maryland area there, where obviously he was drafted and played, and he's got some friends on that team. He said, hey, the player that you really got to watch out for on the defensive side, two guys. He said Jerron Payne up front and Cameron Curl on the back end. So those guys are really, have his respect, and guys that the Niners have to be very concerned about. They asked him, what are you most excited about in this game? And I said to him, is this just another game? And he's like, well, it's not just another game, but he's not trying to make it more than what it is. And then when he was pressed on what he's looking forward to most, he said, when he was traded out here, he had to leave his dogs there, in his actual dogs. I think he has 3 dogs. I think he said he's got a couple pit bulls and a pit bull terrier that he has out there. So he's really eager to see his dogs. He hasn't seen his dogs since he got traded to the 49ers. So he said Saturday there'll be some off time, and he'll get a chance to go see his dogs, and he's excited about that. Kyle was also asked about Chase Young and the impact he's made, and he says that he's had a great impact, that he's deepened the Niners rotation, and he's basically been able to keep some of the other guys fresh. And he thinks he's really made a great impact. Brock Purdy, of course, a major topic. How does Brock rebound from what was probably his worst game as a pro? And Kyle just was very blunt about it. He says he's just got to move forward. He just had a couple of bad plays and a couple of bad bounces. And he said he sat down with Brock. He watched the film. They discussed things. And he said he's just got to move forward. He's got to flush it and put it behind him and move on to the next one. And I think Brock will do exactly that. But, I think they all have it in perspective that Brock did a lot of good things in that game, but he also had 2 really bad plays. The first interception, he misread the coverage, didn't see Kyle Hamilton. The third interception was late, over the middle to George Kittle. Anytime you're late over the middle, and the ball got tipped and up into the air and got picked off, that was bad. To me, anytime you're late and going over the middle, that's always kind of a bad play. Today, by the way, is Brock Purdy's birthday, 24th birthday. So happy birthday to Brock Purdy. The 49ers opened the practice window today for wide receiver Danny Gray. So I believe there's now a 3-week window. They can activate the speedster at SMU. He was a 3rd-round pick for a reason. This guy can flat out play and run, and yet it hasn't happened thus far. And a lot of Niner fans think that he's a bust, but we'll see. We'll see if Danny Gray can get on the field. He's got impact speed, and he's got better ball skills than a lot of speedsters. So we'll see if he can get out there. It'd be great to see if him get out there. The 49ers, because of their need at offensive tackle with Jalen Moore having a concussion and Trent Williams struggling as well with the groin pull, were forced to release offensive guard Ilm Manning and sign offensive tackle Sebastian Gutierrez to their practice squad. Now, the Niners like Ilm Manning, and I think there's a very, very good chance that he'll be back with them later this year, but they needed a tackle, not a guard, and Ilm, even though he played tackle at Hawaii, is thought of more as a guard or a center. And Sebastian Gutierrez, not to be confused with Alfredo Gutierrez, who's still with the Niners, but Sebastian Gutierrez was signed, and he's an offensive tackle. The Niners also re-signed offensive tackle Matt Pryor. They also placed Willie Snead, the wide receiver, who they waived yesterday. They added him again today. He's now back on the practice squad. And the 49ers did waive running back Jeremy McNichols. So a lot of roster shuffling here late in the year because of injuries and the need to have a full complement of players, at least the fullest complement of players that they can come up with. That's what necessitated or led to a lot of those roster decisions. So you are fully updated from Wednesday down here in Santa Clara. As I said, it was a walkthrough today. We'll be back down here tomorrow. We'll talk to Chris Forster, Steve Wilkes, Brock Purdy, and go in the locker room again tomorrow. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring this video. Check that link in the description. Use that promo code KRUG, K-R-U-E-G, and they'll match you up to your first $100. And thanks to all you guys for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.